Hello, Joey Roberts here with the Home Missions Revive Us Again virtual workshop. Again, I serve as the Vice President of Herald of Truth Ministries, and I'm in charge of the communication and the administration at Herald of Truth. And I'm excited to be here with you once again. Well, if you're watching this, you either decided to come back and see what else there was to say about using technology in the church, or you stumbled upon this session and thought, I'll check this out. If that is you, I would say make sure you watch the first part of this lesson where we talked about how you are communicating with your church, both to members and non-members, both inside and outside of the church walls. In this session, we're going to talk about technology and how to use it and why. Technology is not the future of the church. It is now. Look at the people in your worship service. Most of them have a device in hand, right? Hopefully they're there looking at an online version of the Bible they've downloaded, like a YouVersion app, or maybe they're looking at it online. But chances are many are looking at social media and maybe at the news or a variety of other things. Or hopefully they're looking at your church app where you have the order of worship posted and maybe some sermon notes, right? Using technology is important. This is the basis of how we communicate today. People expect to get whatever they want right here from their mobile device. It's not a concept, right? It's a mindset. That is how people are, and that is how we have to reach them if we're going to communicate regularly and effectively with them right where they are. Does your church have a mobile app? There are companies out there like PushPay who offer mobile apps. It's more than just a communication device. Tools like this can increase giving and a feeling of community. How, you might ask? Because you can use these devices to communicate to your members about upcoming events, prayer requests, ministry updates, baby showers, wedding showers, and more. Then apps like this also allow you to go to online giving. You know, churches are usually behind the curve when it comes to trying and doing new things, but online giving does work if you don't have it. It sets up automatic payments just like when you set it up to pay your electric bill or your water bill online. And how does this help? Well, say Joe and Mary Smith usually give $100 a week via check. However, they missed last week because they were out of town. They didn't send in their check per email or per mail, and they forgot to add last week's check to this week's check. So this month you get $300 from Joe and Mary instead of the regular $400. Well, you do that 3 or 4 times over the year, and that makes a difference to the bottom line of the contribution, right? However, if the Smiths signed up for automatic pay, you would get their $400 every month, whether they were there once, twice, 4 times that month, or maybe even none at all. Now multiply that by 25, 30, 40, 50 families, and how much would that change the contribution for your congregation? I mean, that definitely could affect the budget, right? Or how about a special contribution like a Mission Sunday or a Fifth Sunday contribution where you give to a nonprofit ministry like Herald of Truth or Home Mission? People forget to bring that check or forgot that it was today or whatever. They can get on your app on your phone and make the payment right there because, again, it's using technology right there in the hands of the people. Your app also needs to be functional. You can survey members to find out what they want out of the app and then apply that to the app. Again, it goes back to the mindset people have that they want everything right there in their hands. You have to think strategically when it comes to your app and to all of technology, right? How can we use technology to promote and interact with a sermon series? How can we use technology to interact or promote an event or any of our ministries? How can we use an app or technology to find out how people are doing or to have prayer groups or whatever it might be? How do you connect people to each other with technology? We've got to do that in our churches. There's a difference between people and how they use technologies. Data science advisor Monica Rigotti makes a distinction between millennials, whom she refers to as digital natives, and Generation Z, whom she refers to as data natives. She says, quote, while digital natives ask what they can do with technology, data natives are more concerned about what technology can do for them. So again, the data natives, that's Generation Z, want to know more about how technology helps them than the millennials who ask what they can do with technology. For churches to use technology correctly, you have to collect data and then use it. Again, find a church management software like Church Community Builder, or there's a ton out there that will do what you want it to. From keeping up-to-date records of your members to communicating via text and email. In fact, some software packages even interact together. Find a giving software that automatically updates your membership software when online gifts are made. And then at the end of the year, when it's time to print that IRS page that shows how much money they've given, you can do that with a push of a button because the two software packages talk to each other. You also may be asking yourself, okay, Joe, but where do we find the pictures and the video and other tools we talked about earlier in that first session to make the graphics look good or the social media posts be attractive? Here are a couple of sites that I use regularly. One of them is churchmediaspot.com. It's a great tool. Why? Because it links you to several tools for videos, graphics, photos, and music. The website also links you to fonts, tools, and more. Really, some things you can use for free of charge as long as you provide credit to the producer or the owner. Other things you have to pay for, and that's okay as well. Do it. Use that stuff that's already been created. Save yourself time and make your stuff look good. Pay for that thing you want and use it. Give the owner credit. So A, you can stay within the laws of copyright, but B, you can help promote your brand and your church. Photos are a good way to attract people's attention. The use of good pictures that are framed well and are high resolution images are attractive. You also need to use good competition that catches the eye in your photography. Things that are unique attract more visually than that which is mundane. Use videos to promote your sermon series. Here's an example. Here's another of a different variety, if you'll please excuse the audio of the speaker.
Christmas, beautiful decorations, smiling children, perfect family gatherings. It's nice, but it's not really the whole truth, is it? This is also the season when many of us struggle with grief and hard memories. Some are lonely. For many, Christmas means conflict, and no family is really perfect, is it? And that's always been true. I want to invite you to join us beginning next Sunday, December the 1st, for a series of 4 messages we're calling Tidings of Discomfort and Joy. All the way back to Bethlehem, Christmas has always been majestic, choirs of angels, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. It's also been messy. complicated family systems, centuries of waiting for God to speak, monstrous kings, scary times, difficult politics, and even when heaven finally opened up, there was no vacancy at the Motel 6 for the holy couple. God with us, Emmanuel, comes to peasants, shepherds, and cattle in a place more like a barn than a temple. Unlikely people, unlikely places, maybe a lot like you and your family. This time of year is our reminder that our holy God has always been just fine with getting his hands a little dirty. And that's good news. That's gospel news. Hope to see you next week. Happy holidays.
You can also use sermon bumpers, and by doing that, you bump the sermon to draw attention to the screen and set the tone for the sermon as the preacher gets up and walks to the pulpit. Here's an example of a sermon bumper. This is the sermon bumper that matches the Heaven on Earth series I showed you the preview for earlier. So once the song before the lesson starts, you could start playing this on video, and as your preacher gets up, this continues to roll. If it's a little bit longer, like this one, they can start talking, and it would show up with the title slide at the appropriate time. How about graphics? Graphics are an important way to grab attention of people, to give the feel and the theme of the sermon and the day, if your whole service is a theme together, and it keeps people engaged. Here's an example of a sermon title slide. And then here's some secondary slides you can use to develop consistency when it comes to both the sermon and then also the order of worship that matches the theme that goes along with the sermon series. Here's a couple of examples of some announcement slides. This first one here is a wedding announcement, an invitation for the congregation to join the couple in their marriage. This one is a picnic swim party slide, letting the church know about that event. This is an Easter promo video that just ran in the pre and post worship service announcements. You can also use video to promote ministry. Here's an example. A few weeks ago, we introduced you to a new ministry right here at University Church of Christ called Kids Hope, where we work in conjunction with Kids Hope USA and Big Brothers Big Sisters to mentor children at Taylor Elementary School. Two of our members, Carla Kofer and Randy Williams, will serve as our co-directors for this ministry. And here's a recap of what Kids Hope is.
All year, we have been talking about being more involved in the community around us. Kids Hope allows us at UCC to make a difference in the lives of children and their families. Studies have shown many kids are looking for just one person to love them and to show them how much they care. Kids Hope comes down to one child, 1 hour, one church, and one school.
In our partnership with Taylor, the school provides the children who need the interaction, the love, the confidence, and the consistency of an adult, spending just 1 hour per week for one child during school hours. We need mentors to commit to give that 1 hour to your student.
Kids Hope has proven to change the lives of the people involved, both the children being mentored and the mentors themselves. Kids Hope is not a tutoring program, it's a mentoring program. Yes, there will be times we need to help a child with an academic struggle, but we also help the child with so much more.
Some people will want to help, but perhaps they cannot commit 1 hour per week to meet with a child. We also need people to commit to be a prayer partner and pray for a mentor and his or her child each week.
Through mentoring and through prayer, UCC can make a difference in the lives of children right here in our own backyard. A recent survey showed 99.3% of Kids Hope children benefit from their relationships with their mentor. Help us make a difference.
The reason I want to participate in Kids Hope is because I think we have a lot of potential here to make some tremendously positive connections with our community. Taylor is our adopted school in our own backyard, and what a great way to connect with families, to make a meaningful difference in the lives of young children and to stay with those children perhaps over a period of several years and get to know their families.
Being a part of Kids Hope gives us as UCC the opportunity to be out and part of our community that we exist within. It gives us a chance to invest in the lives of kids, to be a part of our schools, to make a difference. As a youth minister, I'm part of the lives of our kids here at the congregation, but being a part of Kids Hope gives me a chance to be a part of something that's even bigger than that, and lets us be a good example for our teens as well.
For many years, the UCC reading program did a lot of great things for the students right here at Taylor Elementary School. If you were involved in that program, this would be a great way for you to re-engage in the lives of the students right here in our own backyard. All of our ministry staff and several of you have already signed on to be a part of this great program, but we need 4 or 5 more mentors to help kickstart Kids Hope next semester. Don't be afraid of the process. You'll have a background interview, you'll have some questions asked of you, there's an application to fill out, but the most important thing is all that information goes to finding who the best fit for you is with the students. Again, this is a great opportunity for UCC to make a difference in the community around us, to reach out and touch the lives of the kids and the families right here at Taylor Elementary School. If you have any questions, talk to co-directors Carla Kofer or Randy Williams, or call or come by the church office. We'll be glad to help you.
One child, 1 hour, one church, one school. Please be a part of this life-changing ministry here at UCC.
Another way you can use video is to set the stage for your worship service. One of the congregations I used to work with, we had a unity service between our bilingual service and our all English service. And this was the welcome that we did at the beginning of the unity service, where both of those congregations came together to worship God. Good morning. Welcome to the unity service at University Church of Christ. This morning, we come around the table not as individuals, but as the one body of Christ. While we gather here together to highlight the unity in our differences and our many various stories, we celebrate the reason we come is for the same purpose, to focus on the one and only God. So welcome.
Olá, bem-vindo ao nosso culto.
Hola, baie welkom vrienden.
안녕하세요.
Mwabono ako UCC.
Bienvenue na UCC.
요코소. 大家好.
And now, let's join together in worship. Now, some of these graphics I made on my own. Some of them, like the sermon bumper, I purchased the main framework, I believe from Envato.com, and just added in my own pictures and my text by dropping the text and pictures into predetermined places in the After Effects file, and voila, I created the bumper when I exported it. I know, again, some of this can be overwhelming and scary, but I would bet that in most congregations, there are teenagers and millennials and other folks who are comfortable with things like this, that would be willing to help out. It can be their ministry. It can be the way they use their talents given by God to honor and worship God. And it'll make them feel part of the community. Another website I just mentioned called Envato.com. This site has everything one would need to get creative projects done, from graphics to stock videos to stock photos and music tracks to website templates to video elements. This is where you can purchase per use. You can have a subscription. Some things are really cheap, some things are a little more expensive, but using those things to help create quality graphics and videos really up the game when it comes to church technology and make you look like you care what you look like and how people perceive you. Ministrytech.com and churchmarketingsucks.com, I know that's a crazy name, are also good for information when it comes to articles where you can read along. It provides links to different elements where you can choose to increase your knowledge of church communication and marketing and church technology. So I would say go check those places out. And why is using church technology important? Because everything is connected. You've seen it. You walk into Target and you look at a certain item, and then the next time you pull up your social media page or Google something on the web, what do you see an advertisement for? Right. That same item you either just purchased or you were looking at or talked about, right? How can church use the same software to share the story of Jesus? Let me tell you what one thing we're doing at Herald of Truth is we're working with a media buyer that is a member of the church in the Nashville area, and we are doing something called geofencing. Now, what is geofencing? Let me tell you. Geofencing is when you take a building, I'm going to use my phone for the building, and you draw a circle around that building. Everybody that comes in that circle with a GPS device, like a phone or a tablet or a computer, it grabs that GPS number. And the next time they Google something or they pull up an app like the weather app or YouTube or something like that, it automatically pushes your advertisement to the person who was inside that geofenced circle. Now, we do this with church buildings. You can do it for an event. Say you're hosting a trunk or treat, and you geofence your parking lot for trunk or treat. And the next time they pull that up, they have a web advertisement saying, "Thank you for coming to our trunk or treat. Come join us Sunday for worship and Bible class." Or maybe it's a totally different message that you send, just saying, "Come visit us," or whatever, right? Come be our guest at church next Sunday. And you don't even mention the trunk or treat part, but the next thing you do is you could geofence your building that next Sunday, and you can compare how many of those people that came to trunk or treat came back for worship on Sunday. Now, it doesn't grab their name, their telephone number, anything like that. All you can do is push advertising to them, but it's very effective. In fact, we have gotten 3 to 4, 5 times the national average of click-throughs to the websites through those geofenced ads. And so that's really good numbers that we're excited about. And so this is just another way to use technology to advertise the church and let people know that we exist, such as a commercial like this. We produce 3 15-second commercials to push to the people who are captured via the geofencing to let them know about the churches of Christ. Now, these advertisements aren't about Herald of Truth, but about drawing attention to the local churches. We did 15-second commercials because you can't skip through them when they come up on your phone if you're looking at YouTube or an open app on your phone. So watch this one and see what I mean about advertising the church.
And that from a child.
You have known the Holy Scriptures,
which are able to make you wise for salvation,
through faith which is in Christ Jesus.
The Churches of Christ, the Bible people.
Now, here's what one of those 15-second ads looks like when you add a logo to it.
In a confusing and complex world, isn't it comforting to know that there is simple truth, simple faith, and simple Christianity? The Churches of Christ.
You can also push static ads like these, or you can push longer commercials like this 30-second commercial that appears also on television in our market areas that we're working with.
Hello? This is he. Are you sure? Yeah, I'll be right there. I'm here to pick up Alden Call.
Did you fill this form out? We'll notify you of a court date within 30 days.
Dad, I know I messed up and I'm sorry.
Come on, bud. Let's get you home.
Again, these commercials are about advertising the church. And if you're interested in that, I'll give you my email later, but we have to try to connect to people. And speaking of being connected, the world today has really been changed by the pandemic, right? And it's forced churches to change as well. Many churches moved to an online format over the past year, thanks to apps like Zoom and to online streaming. Now that a lot of churches have moved to meeting back in person in some places, they're still doing the online streaming, even though they may not have done it before the pandemic. Whether you're using a high quality production equipment or an iPad or iPhone and a laptop, you can still have good quality production. There are several ways to ensure good quality production via software and the internet connection. The camera is important, but so is the software. I wish we had time to walk through this, but that would be worth a whole nother class time. Just make sure that what you're doing, you've sought out the best practices for online streaming. That makes a lot of difference in how people view your congregation. Also, you may have used Zoom to help connect you and your church community. We started using Zoom at the congregation that I'm at for Bible classes on Sunday mornings during the pandemic, but we also used it for committee meetings and small group sessions and more. Our elders still have a couple of guys who are still meeting for elders meetings via Zoom right now, and we've had committee meetings and conducted different ways that we connect our members who are not quite comfortable to get face-to-face with everybody yet during this time of COVID-19. Again, technology has changed the church. We need to make sure that we help it change it for the better. Using technology is all about the user experience, from GPS app-based messages to social media advertising, which is pretty cheap, by the way, on Facebook, to the way things look and sound inside your spaces in your building. Technology may be more important now than ever before, and good technology is perhaps more important now than ever before. You should have Wi-Fi in your building. And of course, there are limits you can set as to who can use it and to what extent. Providing that for your members and guests shows that you care about their user experience. It can even have a password. Just make sure you put the password where people can see it. By the way, this is also a good way to collect user data. If they want to sign up for the web, you can ask them to at least collect their name, email, cell phone, maybe their carrier as well. People are used to putting that information in to be able to access things. So you have a way to capture who was there and then contact them later, like we talked about in the first segment of this class about guest follow-up. Also, when it comes to technology, it is okay for churches to use partners. Partner with software companies that have already invented the wheel to put on your technology truck, if you will. You don't have to reinvent those things. Of course, you need to research and make sure it does and has what you want and need. You need to make sure that whatever software package you choose is a good fit for you and your congregation. And then you need to use them. Use what you purchase. I promise it will help you in your communication and technology efforts. If we were sitting in a room together, I would ask you what things your congregation does that relates to technology and what questions you might have. We would talk about how you might do better, or I could answer some questions about that. We don't have that ability today because we're in this virtual classroom. But if you do have questions, and trust me, I'll be the first to tell you I am not an expert on all of this and all things church technology, but I do have some experience. And hopefully, if I don't know the answer, I could connect you with somebody that might be able to answer your question. But if you do have questions, I invite you to send them to me at joey@heraldoftruth.org. Just give me your name, your congregation in town, and ask your questions, and I'll get back to you. Thank you again for joining us today. And thank you to Home Mission for hosting another great Revive Us Again workshop. Hopefully next time we can do this in person. Have a blessed day, and remember, technology is not a scary word. It's one we as a church have to embrace and use to create and strengthen our community of believers and to reach out and share Jesus to those who need to hear the life-changing, soul-saving story. Blessings.